Oh, what is up, Mike? The cameras just did it again, bro. It just did it again. It's okay. Fear not. Fear not. Welcome back to another episode of TWC Talks. We're still here, and we keep going. Mike, how are you doing this morning? Besides your camera not
I'm
knowing
doing,
what's going on.
yeah, my camera's having issues, but I'm doing great. So that's the most important thing. I'm doing great. Camera needs to be taken out back and shot, it looks like.
Wow, that and now we're gonna get an explicit rating on the podcast. You can't say these things. It's 2023, and you live in California.
Oh, that's right.
Uh,
Sorry. That wasn't a PC answer, was it? My
no, it
bad. My
wasn't.
bad.
That's very antiquated of you. Um, hey, we
Yes.
have a genius on the show today. His name is Todd, and I don't know if you're watching the video or not, but if you're watching the video, you can see. Have you ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, Mike?
Yes, and that is exactly what is happening
Like,
back there.
he's basically got a beautiful mind behind him of like, all of the different, I don't know, softwares that he built in his life.
It's all the
Todd,
customer
welcome to the show.
journeys,
Thanks
man.
for being here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I'm
Dude,
psyched.
you are, dude, you're like a class act when it comes to what you're building and how you're building it. And dude, you're the people that you worked with rave about you. The people who know you rave about you. Our clients rave about you. So I just want to take a quick moment, and this might be a little bit like, I know this isn't in Mike's show notes for me to say, but just wanted to tell you thank you for letting us be a part of your journey and what you're building. And I know we're not entitled to it, so thanks for letting us just have a small part to play in what you're building. It's amazing to watch.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And thank you for creating the space for us to do the awesome stuff that everybody's able to do in the group that we have here.
Dude, you're so
That's
welcome.
good.
I'll keep doing it. I'll
Well,
keep doing it. All right. Go for it.
Todd, you've been an exceptional example of like what we look for in the MDC community. We were talking earlier, and I want to just underscore this because I think it's a key component to the success of MDC and the success of everybody inside of it. And that is that every single person that we add to the community, we really do think not in terms of, well, can we help them or can we not? But it's also, is this person going to be a value add to the community, right? It's like a bolt-on brain to the mind hive that we're building, the collective of subject matter experts, coaches, consultants, et cetera. Like we're looking for people that are going to expand, that create that flywheel effect. And you are a perfect example of that because you're constantly in the group, you're throwing down your knowledge, you're helping people, so it's not just you extracting from the community, it's you giving back to it. And I just think it's really, really cool. Even to the point, like you're going to be one of our featured experts at our monthly fly-in this month, you're just like awesome. The epitome of what we look for. So I just want to say, I appreciate you because it takes effort. Like it's genuinely visible that you are putting in the effort to be just a really good, member in the community. So I just appreciate you in doing that.
Yeah. Well, like anything in life, it's like what you put into it, what you give, you get back. Right. And I'm a big believer in that and reciprocity of life and love and abundance and like get in, contribute, help other people. And like, that's what's awesome about the MDC crew is like, we all contribute and help each other in all different ways and lift each other up. And everybody's got their zone of genius that they're working in. And so being able to get into the group, whether it's online or like, we do one-on-one calls with each other all the time. Everybody's like helping each other in different ways. And it's awesome to be a part of it. So I appreciate you guys and everybody in the community. It's awesome.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, let's talk about then. What is your zone of genius? Give us a little snapshot of what it is that you do. What do you bring to the market? How do you help people as a consultant?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we do is we help people with, building relationships at scale online and digitizing their expertise into a way that makes their marketing feel super easy. A lot of people struggle with like, oh, do I need a YouTube channel and a podcast? And you say, I got to post on social media every single day. Like, how do I do all these zillion different things? And it's like, yo, if we just zoom everything back and like something at the fly-in last month, someone was like, I don't want to be on camera and I don't want to do all these things. Like, I just want to get on Zoom and have coffee with my clients and like talk to them about like my expertise. And I'm like, yo, that's all you have to do in today's marketing. Like, let's simplify it. And like, how do we just digitize your expertise where you are just having a good time, having conversations with your market, and then let our team or your team or whoever multiply that effect. So it's like, you could have a 10-minute coffee conversation with a fake client on the other end of the camera, and that turns into really great content, because stuff that Taylor talks about is building your reputation and relationship and just adding value to the marketplace, right? So if you just show up to serve your audience, that's what's going to attract the right people. That's what's going to help you attract great clients and cultivate great clients. And so we help people build that machine and run that machine so that it's easy for them to just show up, be helpful, and serve their market and build relationships and reputation.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, I know Taylor's the content producing machine. So I know he's, obviously speaks the same language for sure.
Yeah. Taylor's really set my alarm at 4 a.m. to write 52 pages every morning before the baby wakes up. Like, wow.
Now that I'm less like, this is something like in most areas of the business, me and Mike, we talk about this all the time. Like, what's the model? Like, how do we put this into a framework? Because I think especially the future of like expertise work, when you look at AI and you look at the how smart things are getting, like a lot of what people have gotten paid for based on their intuition or their instinct is going to be replaced because knowledge is so easy. But what can't be commoditized is the ability to make things repeatable and simple. And that's where it's like, dude, there are these slivers of the expert market that are very difficult to replace. And Todd, you're really, really good at systematizing frameworks for how to, scale relationship and how to show up in all of these different places. And so I tend to be more brute force on content. Like I'm just publish a book a day, and you tend to be more nuanced, I think, in how you approach it,
Yeah. And there's good things, there's good things to all of it. And also something I think people skip out on when they try to bypass, like when it comes to like creating on a regular basis, is that writing is also thinking, right? And so the more you write, like it's a muscle too. So outside of just talking about marketing stuff, like just writing on a regular basis or creating in some form is like, you're articulating your thoughts in a new way that just help you get better at articulating your thoughts to your market. And when you do that publicly, you create you get found, right? You get people that find you and you attract people, but then you create a feedback loop where you start talking about stuff that's on your mind. You speak about it well, and then people respond and you're like, oh, a lot of people responded to that one. Let me go down that rabbit hole more. And then you're like, oh, that's worth building a framework on. That's worth creating a product on. That's worth creating a program on. And you can stack all those things. And all it comes from is like publicly thinking, right? Like that's what it comes down to in that case. That's what I think Taylor's done a great job of. So
really well put. Nice, man. So give us a snapshot of what it was like to come into MDC. How did you even discover it? What's your backstory in knowing Taylor as a person? How'd all that happen?
Yeah. So Taylor's been dominating my newsfeed for like a decade at this point, because of what we just talked about, right? Like he's constantly creating and putting out really quality stuff. So that attracted me into his world, and started doing some of his programs back in the day, and have been around kind of ever since. And when MDC opened up, I was like, yo, this is an opportunity that I definitely want to jump on. Talk to Peyton, pass the test, had to wait. Luckily for me at the time was only a couple days. I didn't have to wait the months that it takes now to get in for some people. But being part of the early crew was awesome. And the crew that we've grown to now has been amazing, because what we were talking about yesterday with the group is like 2 days after I joined, like I didn't go through any curriculum yet, really. I didn't go through any of that stuff. Like just my identity and my internal value and worth like increased exponentially just by all of a sudden being a part of this community of like, oh man, these people are world class. Like, oh, am I world class? Like, oh, I'm world class too. Like, this is amazing. And like, that really helped increase my own like self-perception out of the gate and change my identity immediately, even before going through like the tactical stuff or even like the strategic stuff. Like it starts even before that with the identity level. And so the MDC journey for me that's been the biggest component and like return. Like somebody in the group has started saying the ROI, the return on identity. And, that's like a really powerful phrase that I've been loving.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what you were saying yesterday in our group. So every week, for those listening, we have a weekly consulting call. It's live. It's for the MDC clients. We all jump in. It's free flow, just open Q&A. Taylor's throwing down his knowledge. Other people are throwing down their knowledge. It's just a really cool environment. Kind of get around the campfire and jam on different things. And there's newer members there too. Obviously, brand new. And then they're instantly exposed to people like yourself that have been in the game a long time, has already seen, pretty significant success. And it's kind of like success through osmosis. They kind of realize, wait a second, I'm in the room now, and their belief level. I've seen that in multiple members have just their belief level goes through the roof. And I think that's just really, really cool. It would be easy for them to listen to Taylor and kind of feel like there's a huge gap there. Like, oh man, he's up there, I'm over here. But when you start getting surrounded by a bunch of other people that are making moves, their stories start reflecting into your own life and all the things. I mean, Taylor, you've seen the evolution of so many people over the years. It's got to be a pretty rewarding experience for you, I bet.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think it really shows inside of like when someone's thinking changes, and this is the boring, by the way, this is why it's people have to sell the sizzle sometimes. Is because if I'm like, hey, let me teach you how to think, crickets. People are like, boo, like just get us clients. It's like, but that's really the key to like I have the errors that I have made in my career is I have helped too many people get results too quickly without teaching them how to navigate their thinking. And so you can see this early in 2017 and 2018. People would go to the moon and be like, I'm Bill Gates because I'm doing, I went from $0 to $1 million a year. And then that same person is crashing and burning, and they got 3 divorces, and they're working at Home Depot. No offense if you're working at Home Depot, but it's like, what happened to you? Well, they didn't actually evolve as a thinker, and so their environment up leveled, but their thinking did not. And you will always reset. I heard this quote yesterday while working out. I was listening to you guys know TD Jakes, Bishop
That name
TD
sounds
Jakes.
familiar.
You gotta listen. Bishop T.D. Jakes is one of the greatest communicators in the history of the world. And he said, if I say excellence and you say excellence, the problem with the human language, this will change your life. This has nothing to do with consulting. This is why I'm here. The problem is Todd says excellence, I say excellence, but our definition of excellence will only rise to the level of our exposure. So if I am exposed to something greater than Todd is, my definition of excellence will inherently be higher than Todd's. This is thinking. We're talking about thinking. And so one of the things that you triggered when you asked me this question is my mission is to put together groups of people that can increase the lid of your exposure so that Todd doesn't just make a lot of money, but his life actually becomes better because he becomes a better thinker. That is really hard to teach. So while it is enriching and it's fulfilling to see people grow, it's not as fulfilling as seeing people be like, I got a message the other day in Circle, and they're taking date night with their spouse every week now, and they're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. That's way more fulfilling, dude. Like I am more fulfilled by that than I am the client getting, but I know that the client getting and the income follows that. Long tangent. But
what's also true about this too is like, especially like in our kind of industry and world of like internet stuff, like there's these bubbles on the internet of people who want to make 6 figures, and then there's people who want to make 7 figures, 8 figures, and like the problem with the English language is like, I want to make quote a lot of money, or I want to have a quote big impact, and some people think a big impact is 20 people, and some people think it's 20 million, and so that's like where I immediately realized like the limit of what I thought was huge and difficult to attain. I'm like, oh wait, all these other people are doing it. Like this is a normal thing. And so normalizing that like level of what is possible is another huge thing. Like when you get into the room with people like we have in MDC, and getting to hang around Taylor and hear him talk about like the stuff that he's doing, where I'm like, oh man, I got to step up. Like,
Yeah, it increases the belief level. I like going into rooms like that. Every time we get together, that's why I just find that flying so great, because we have the open Q&A sessions, and typically
Yeah.
at least one person is going to say something and it's going to resonate, right? Like every single time you're there, something's going to hit you and you're like, yep. And that's why I came because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
needed to
Well,
hear that one thing. Right. And it just really,
mhm.
really hits. And yeah, it's awesome for that. So tell us give us a takeaway, man. Like one of the biggest takeaways, if now that you know what you know, being inside MDC, being around in the community, having to work with everybody, what's a big takeaway for you that we haven't already kind of discussed?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest stuff for me in MDC is like the identity, getting around the right people, thinking at a different level, and thinking about different things. Like that's really the main thing for me, and that what you think is the work is not usually the work, right? Like Taylor
Mm,
said, it's okay. Oh, MDC, they got a curriculum on like VSL structure. Sweet, I need to sign up and get in there so I could change my VSL or whatever. And it's like that's not the work, right? Like there's other foundational work that is what you got to get to and what you got to focus on first, and that multiplies everything else that you do, because your VSL structure doesn't make a difference if you come with the wrong energy and mindset. So that's the stuff that is really the biggest impact, because like truth be told, like have I followed step by step 100% of every single tactical thing in MDC? Like, no, not even close, dude. Like, not even close. And yet, like, we've still seen tremendous revenue growth without burning out my time. And like, our team is great. Like, everything is going really well on track. And it's like, and it's not one of those things where you're like, oh, I have to join this and then I have to like stay up all night to go through hours of courses and figure out how to do a million things. Like, it's like when you focus on the right things at the right time, those levers pull a lot heavier stuff than trying to go down to the weeds and change tactical things.
mm, solid, solid, man. And what would you tell someone, considering like they're like, okay, I've heard about this MDC thing. I've been listening to some of these TWC talks, like all good. I'm a little on the fence though. I don't even know how would someone know if MDC is right for them? You know,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
if you're listening this far, like it probably is. Like, I don't want to flood Peyton's calendar with stuff, but like the best part about and I see a lot of people talk about this who are not in MDC is that being able to talk with Peyton or whoever else it might be about the program, and it's not a pressured situation. Like we're going to make, like, if you don't decide in the next 7 minutes, we're going to repossess your house and make sure your business fails. It's like, yo, it's like, here's what we got going on. Like, here's what we got going on. If you think that's cool, like, awesome, we can put you on the list. And like, if not, like, here's some things that can help your business. So I think if you're someone who is like tired of only focusing on like how do I get the next sale or what's that next like tactic, like that's not what like MDC has that stuff and we talk about it, like that's cool, but it's really about like, am I really ready to change the person I am and be around like real world class people and community? And if that I don't know who wouldn't want to do that, but if that's what you're thinking and who you are, like that's worth exploring.
nice, man, nice. Well, I know the world of content. We've already touched on AI a little bit and everything that's happening. I know you're kind of staying on the leading edge of all that. So
Yeah.
we're going to be, learning more and more about how all that's going to play out. Um, what, how do you see that impacting your world specifically? Like people that do, are into content creation, doing all
Yeah.
that. How do you see AI really making an impact? And what can people do to keep up with it? Is that something that you help people do, or how are you tying that
Yeah,
into
for
what
sure.
you're doing?
Yeah, it's part of my daily workflow in work and my personal life. I could go off on a tangent like, yo, um, uh, but it's start playing with it. Like ChatGPT is free, or $20 a month if you can get the paid one. Like I pay for it, so I have full access all the time. Like get in there and play around and see what it can do. I think on the content side, it's going to make a lot of noise. So a lot of people who are not creating content and they're like, oh, I've known for years I need to do it. oh, this makes it easy. If you open that up from scratch and say, write me an article about XYZ expertise, like, your topic of expertise, and you copy and paste that and put it out, like, that's not going to resonate with anyone. There's no, like, I also believe in like energy and frequencies, right? So like if a computer's creating it, even if it sounds like something a human would say, it's not going to have that same resonance. But at the same time, you're now delegating and outsourcing your expertise and supposed genius to AI. That doesn't make sense. And to be transparent, that's against like my whole hypothesis of like having a humanized brand and like showing up to serve and be helpful. So rather being able to use it to brainstorm and spitball, and then how can you use AI in a system that speeds up your production as opposed to creating something from scratch and a blank page, right? So what we're using it for is like, how do we take a very easy 5-minute recording of a video and turn that into a super actionable blog post that's optimized for search, or, fractal that out into 10 different social media posts, or writing emails? Like, how do we speed up our production of what we're distributing out to the world, and using AI to kind of craft and optimize the process, as opposed to like, oh, I don't need to think anymore. I'm just going to have AI do my thinking and creating.
Yeah, just outsource your
that's
thinking. Right?
Yeah. So that's a big thing for me. But it's also amazing with like, dude, I'm not like, I built websites back in the day, and like I can code like light front end website stuff, simple stuff, but I'm also building software products now, like in 7 minutes, where I'm like, yes, the other day I'm like, man, I got clients in all these different time zones now. And now when I'm sending out my emails, I'm like, oh, let's meet at 11. What time is that? And in California, but no, wait, they're in Omaha. And I'm like trying to figure these out. And I'm like, ChatGPT, can you help me build a Chrome extension that if I type in East Coast/West Coast, it will automatically list all the time zones in the email I'm writing? Yeah, here's the code. It does it. Now zip this file up and go to Chrome extension settings and upload. And I do that. And now I just built a product that's like saving me time and headaches. And like that kind of stuff. It's one thing, it's cool where it's like, oh, it can write words fast. Like, but now I'm like, okay, I wasn't able to develop an iPhone camera app for content creators a month ago. And I just spent 45 minutes and made an iPhone app for content creators, right? Like that's the stuff that's like a whole new level of like craziness to me.
Phenomenal. That's awesome, man. Taylor, any thoughts as we start wrapping up here with Todd?
Yeah, what would you say is like your biggest two things as you look at the landscape, because you've been in this game a long time and you're connected into a lot of really talented people. What would you say is something that's probably not going to change over the next 2, 5, 10 years? Because everybody's dominated by thinking like the AI is going to change this and this is going to change and that's going to change.
Right.
What do you think is going to stay relatively constant, just to give some peace to people?
I think it's human connection. People love buying from people. I think that's where I'm leaning in. And what's it called? The Lindy effect, right? Like Bezos talks about it. Like what's something that's worked for 10, 20, 30 years? Like that means it has staying power. And so I look at its relationships with people. And so how can you create true connection with people, and where they value the relationship that they have with you or your brand? And that's why I think putting yourself out on video, putting your face, your audio out there, that's making a connection. People see you. I think humanized brands will have the staying power, for sure.
Solid.
Love it.
Yeah, really solid. Awesome, Todd. Well, as we wrap up, man, how can people learn more about you? Like website, social, where can people learn to know more about Todd?
Yeah. Best place to go would be thegrowthsuite.com/free. I got a bunch of free stuff there about content, marketing, all that kind of stuff if they want to get it. Todd Giannattasio, which even if you spell it wrong, you'll probably find me on Facebook. And that's the best place to come check out what I got going on.
Super cool, man. Super cool. Well, that is it from my side, man. Thank you so much for, investing time into our community and everything we're doing at MDC. Like we already talked about, you're a phenomenal add to the group. I'm excited for your fly-in coming up. I'm going to be taking some serious notes on that. Yeah. And I know everyone else will too, man. So excited for that. That's it for me. Taylor, take us out, man.
Much love, much peace, much happiness. Adios.
Adios.